Hey guys, James here with another Instagram review. For those of you that don't know, I try every Sunday to post a poll between two films asking for you guys which one you would prefer me to review, and then eventually, give it like a month or so because I'm stocking up videos, I will post the review of the winner. The last review, or the last poll that I did, kind of had an interesting turn of events. I posted which one you guys would prefer, me review The Losers or The Transporter. And in a surprising turn of events, I got equal votes for both. So I've decided that this Instagram review will be of The Transporter, and then the next Instagram review that I post will be of The Losers. So, yeah, that was an interesting turn of events, and I wasn't really sure how to handle that. I guess I just decided, you know what, I'll just review both of them this time. So yeah, like I said, this review will be of The Transporter. I've seen this movie once, like 8, maybe even 10 years ago. When did it come out? 2002. Oh, I saw it way longer than that. I think the third film had already come out by the time I saw this one. I remember it being kind of silly, but not like over the top silly like Statham's other big film, Crank. But I remember being like well choreographed and interesting, and I believe that this was Statham's like breakout role, as it were, because I know he did Lock, Stock, and Two Smoking Barrels, and he did Snatch before doing this, but this was kind of the film that brought him to the American audience and kind of made him a staple of action in the modern day. So I'm interested in rewatching this and seeing if it's any good, and then maybe later I'll look at the second and the third one as well. But just today we're going to look at the first one. So I'm going to put it on, and I'll let you know my thoughts when the movie's over. So The Transporter's over, and it's actually kind of enjoyable. It does kind of dip in the middle, but it's overall kind of enjoyable. The premise of the film is Jason Statham plays Frank Martin? Yep, Frank Martin, who is a transporter. He takes jobs. People call him up. They say, we've got this package delivered, or we need these people moved from one place to another. That's usually illegal things, bank robbers, etc. He has a specific set of rules that he follows, and he does his driving thing for them. And he's asked to transport a package from point A to point B, and amongst doing the drive, he breaks his third rule, which is never look in the package, and he discovers a kidnapped woman who is involved in, or she herself is not involved, but she's been kidnapped by people that are involved in slave trading. And he at first is just, finish the job and keep going, but then the kidnappers / slave traders make it a little more personal, and now Frank is trying to squash their operation and just kind of get them out of his life, basically. Now, what I gotta say about this film is that it's actually a very well done action movie. It gets kind of over the top toward the end, but overall the action is very well done. It's very well choreographed. I believe it's the same choreographer as The Matrix. But it's very well choreographed, and it's very well shot. The cinematography during the fight scenes is actually very well done. Some of the driving cinematography was a little off, but it's to be expected, right? Like, driving really fast, you're going to get some shakiness. But the fight scenes looked really well done, and like I said, they were very well choreographed. The fighting was very fluid. It was very fun. A couple of inventive parts, one involving a shipping container doors. That was kind of an interesting way that they handled that fight. There's a great fight in a bus between Statham and about 6 or 7 guys. Again, very well choreographed, very well shot. just an all-around good-looking movie, which I gotta say, like, is something. It's a high praise these days to get that. Back then, it wasn't. It was kind of run-of-the-mill, but to go back and watch some of those older films, it's kind of a breath of fresh air, honestly. Now, the first thing that I noticed watching this film, or the first thought that kind of crept into my head was, without this film, would we have films like Drive and Baby Driver, like two excellent films based around kind of the same premise? Because the opening to this is very reminiscent to the opening of those films. It shows our driver who has his particular set of skills. Yes, that's a Luc Besson reference because he wrote this one and he wrote Taken. Anyways, he has his set of skills. He has his particulars when he drives. It's the same that happens in Drive. It's the same that happens in Baby Driver. They have their, the way that they do their driving, the way they do their getaway. And the film opens up with a grand escape from the police and some fun car chase and stuff. And like I said, it's very reminiscent of Drive and Baby Driver, which came out years and years later. But it makes me wonder, if this film hadn't been made, would we have that? Would we have those films? So, if nothing else, if that's the case, then I gotta give praise to that, because those two films are excellent films. This is a little more of the campier, cheesier side, whereas those two played a little more seriously. But overall, kind of the same premise about a driver who's really good at driving, but has like specifics to how they drive. The other thing in this opening scene that I realized or recalled, because I've known it, is Statham is just so cool. Like, he is a very charismatic actor. He's a very fun actor to watch on screen, and he just has like this very like sophisticated silliness to him, because he's capable of like delivering those one-line jokes, but he's able to do it with just this like suaveness. Like, I don't know how to really classify it, but he's really cool. This is the best. I guess this is the best way to describe it. He's just really cool, and yeah, he was a perfect choice for this role. And I love watching Statham films. I don't think there's been a film that Statham's been in where I haven't at least enjoyed Statham's performance. Something else that was really cool, and it worked with Statham, but it also worked with this other character. There is a detective that is constantly showing up at Statham's house, and they share some good banter, and you can tell that they've been friends for a while, but you can tell that the detective kind of knows that something's up with Frank, but doesn't really have the evidence or the proof to really like do anything about it. And I really enjoyed their dynamic. I thought there was a really strong bond between these two characters, and ways that it kind of plays out towards the end was actually very fulfilling, I think. But yeah, he's just a very interesting dynamic, and like I said, it works with the two performances from the leads. I cannot remember who plays the detective. But yeah, Statham and this detective character, they share some really good on-screen chemistry. But speaking of on-screen chemistry, one dynamic that didn't work for me, which I feel like it should have worked better, was the dynamic between Statham and the girl that he winds up rescuing. I believe the character's name is Lai. Or Lay. I think it's Lai. She's an interesting character, and there's some interesting stuff that kind of develops between her and another character. It's kind of spoiler, so I'm not going to go into that part yet. But I felt that the on-screen chemistry between her and Statham really felt forced. They try to make this romantic arc between the two characters because they're in this dangerous situation together, like a lot of action movies do, where the male lead and the female lead have to like hook up by the end of the film because they're in this situation, and it just felt very forced. Mainly because like the majority of the time before this really like this romantic arc builds, Statham wants nothing to do with her. He frees her, he asks her some questions, and then she's like, "Can I go?" And he's like, "Yeah, sure," but then she decides to stick around, and he's kind of annoyed by it, but he feels like it's, like, I'm not going to get rid of her, so I'll just keep her around for a bit. And then as things start to escalate, it's supposed to be like they form a bond, but really like it just comes out of nowhere, it comes out of left field, and yeah, I did not buy their relationship to the extent that the film wanted me to buy it. So yeah, I mean, honestly, it's a fine film. It's actually a pretty decent film. I wasn't sure if it was going to be as good as I remember it, or even like really worth my time, but I actually enjoyed it, and in terms of the DVD itself, I think I might hold on to it. I'm gonna kind of sleep on it, but I think I'll hold on to this one. I don't know if I'll be able to say the same thing about the second and the third one whenever I get around to those, but in terms of the first one, I think I would hold on to this one. It was enjoyable enough, specifically towards the end. The couple of fight scenes that happened there were actually a lot of fun, and yeah, it was overall an entertaining film. So if you're an action junkie and you haven't checked out The Transporter, get on that, man. I think it's worth your time. It's short. It's only an hour and a half. Check it out. Couple of spoiler things, not really spoilerish. So for starters, the female lead, Lai, her father is involved in the conspiracy, and she kind of plays it out at first that he's like one of the victims, but then it's revealed that he's actually like the criminal mastermind behind everything, and she knows that, but she kind of left it out, and I don't know, maybe I missed a line of dialogue or something, but it felt like it came out of nowhere, and it wasn't exactly like invested in him, and I don't even recall if there was even like an explanation as to why he's doing it. He's just doing it. I mean, the other guy who hires Frank in the beginning, or the one that Frank drops the package off, I guess he's not the one that hired him. His motives are a little more clear. He's kind of in it for the money, but in terms of the father who's like masterminding this whole thing, it didn't really seem like there was a whole lot of motive behind his actions. Yeah, I guess that's really the only like spoilerish thing. There's a couple of like tidbits, like there's a scene after Statham rescues the girl, they go back to his place, they have breakfast, and then the slave traders show up and they start shooting up the place. And like, you know what, I'll buy that they've got pistols and submachine guns and assault rifles. That all seems believable. But they've come out with a rocket launcher, and the concept of these rockets just kind of seems to fit the scene, because they fire one rocket and it's got like a natural like curvature to it, and it blows up the top of the building, whatever. But then the second one gets fired and it kind of like shoots, and it just kind of takes like a 90-degree angle, like it just kind of like, oh yeah, this is where I'm supposed to go, and it just randomly turns. And then the last one just kind of shoots straight. So if it was like a heat sensitive one, there really wasn't any like indication that that's what it was, or maybe I missed it. Overall, it was just kind of silly. And speaking of silly, and just made me laugh out loud. There's a scene after the bus fight where Statham takes on like another like group of thugs, and this like one big thug, and Statham knocks over these vats of oil that just are sitting in the middle of the bus depot. So they're all like slipping and sliding and stuff, and he like lays down on the ground, he kind of rolls in it, he dumps another one over top of him, so that way when they go to grab him, they just kind of like, he just kind of like slides out like a greased pig. And everybody's like struggling to like, they're basically like standing on ice almost, like that kind of concept. They're struggling to stand up, and he like walks over, he grabs this bike, he kicks the pedals off of it, and he's like sticks his feet into the pedals, and then he's kind of like tiptoeing on these pedals on the oil. Made me laugh just so loudly. And of course he proceeds to beat them all down, which again was just really funny. But yeah, I guess that's it for like spoiler stuff. There really isn't much to this movie. It's a pretty substandard action film, but it's enjoyable. It's an enjoyable action film, and yeah, I think I'll hold on to it. So that's my take on The Transporter. I hope you enjoyed it. If you've seen this film, let me know in the comments below. And don't forget to subscribe if you yourself are jonesing for film.